Hello, my name is Inès Elsa Dalal. Welcome to 100 Stories Deep. Today I'm reading Didi's by Nikesh Shukla, which is part of an anthology called A Short Affair. I'm reading this in the English language, but there are a few words in Gujarati. I am not a native Gujarati speaker, so apologies in advance for any mispronunciations. I've chosen this story because it is, to me, the most heartfelt depiction of homesickness that I've ever encountered within literature. So yes, the story is Didi's by Nikesh Shukla, and if you're ready, I'm ready. So we can begin. Okay, chapter 1. The way he looks at me, I know he's going to send a drink over, and then follow it up 3 minutes later by sitting next to me. Luckily, Teddy knows me, and so, when he sits the beer down on the counter next to me, he asks if I want an exit strategy. I look up from my book and shake my head at him. I was hoping reading a book would be my exit strategy, I say. He laughs and shimmies his shoulders to the Frank Ocean song playing. It's hit the bit with a strained falsetto at the end. Before I look down at the page, I see Teddy bite his bottom lip and spin around to face the rest of the bar. I cackle. Rohan had once said my laugh was the noise a passerby would least expect me to make. It was, he said, how shy people really sound when no one is paying any attention. I need new friends. Teddy, trying to hold my attention, does that lip-biting head shimmy that made bad-era Michael Jackson impossible to look away from. I found Teddy's Instagram page recently. He's in an all-boy dance troupe called Gravity Bites. They all look 10 years too late to be a boy band. Like they formed a tribute band to NSYNC now, approaching 40, rather than NSYNC in their prime. He's their Joey Fat One. 4 minutes after the beer goes untouched, I feel the guy slide onto the seat next to me. What are you reading, he asks, like the book is a major imposition. I flap up the cover so he can see it, while keeping my eyes on the page, cursing this guy for making me reread the same sentence 4 times. Any good, he asks. I hold up my finger to indicate I'm still reading. Let me finish. I carry on staring at the page long enough to turn it, and stare more. I wait until it becomes awkward. I hear him let out a slow, deliberate sigh of air. Okay, I hear you, he says, sliding off his stool and standing. He walks back to his buddy. Excuse me, I say, looking up finally. He turns around expectantly. You forgot your beer? I say, louder. He cuts eyes at me. It's on me, he says. I want to laugh. I look up at Teddy and he rolls his eyes around clockwise. I let out a giggle. The apartment is dark. It doesn't feel like home yet. Everything is placed in an unfamiliar location. I can hear the dog's tail wagging as I enter. It's come to the door. I haven't taken it out all day. I refuse to call him Spider-Man. It's a stupid name. Rohan's an idiot. I switch the light on and there he is, Spider-Man the dog, staring at me. He nods over to where his leash hangs off my bookshelf. I look at the doormat where I stand to pick up the dog walker's note. It's written by some guy called Mike. He always leaves something cute. Spider-Man, does whatever a doggy can. Except a number 2, he may be constipated, or superheroes never need the toilet. Mike. Sighing, drunk from the free beer I accepted, I grab the lead off the shelf and open the bag with the Panda in it. So much for eating in front of Twitter in my bed, I think. Outside, Spider-Man has his nose to the ground, searching for rivals. Jackson Heights is blissfully still at this time, part of the reason I moved here. I don't know the area too well yet. The ampanda is warm in my stomach. I'm thirsty. Spying an open bodega, I walk towards it to buy a bottle of water. Inside, the lights are bright, and there is a bustle. I keep looking back at the front door, nervous to leave Spider-Man by himself. I buy a bottle of water, silently, from a guy who barely looks up from the Hindi melodrama he's watching on his iPhone. I've downed half the bottle before I've untied Spider-Man. We walk a couple more blocks. I want to go home, but the way Spider-Man tugs at the lead, excited to be out at 4 a.m, makes me feel bad about cutting short his street time. We near a street corner and there is a familiar noise. Someone's listening to the Doom 3 soundtrack. So Doom is spelled D-H-O-O-M. It makes me smile. I remember the song well. Katrina Kaif simulates a chaste lap dance for 50-year-old Amir Khan, who's wearing a bowler hat and suit vest like a creep. I may have misremembered this. There are voices talking over the soundtrack. The familial sound of shrill, fast Gujarati peppers the night air for a second. And for a second, I'm transported home. I haven't been back in months. Not since Papa told me he voted Trump, and I yelled that he was a sellout before hiding in my room and getting not stoned from a 7-year-old joint I remember I hid in an old copy of a Jumpa book. So Jumpa is spelled J-H-U-M-P-A. I can barely speak to the man on the phone. I'm sure to send my mum photos of me at every single damn protest. My placards and slogans clear because I know she's definitely showing them to him. But no way I'm spending time with that apologist for the racist hashtag not my president. Hearing the Doom 3 soundtrack reminds me of a few Christmases ago being home with Preeti, listening to it on repeat as we drove around, doing the greatest hits of our stupid upstate small town. It reminds me of my mum, standing over the kitchen counter, cutting up okra wheels so small they dissolve in your mouth, while a desi cable channel pumped out the hits, that song. Ni main kamli kamli, meri yan di. With no one to speak to in Gujarati in the city, I've been feeling homesick. I almost bound around the corner, feeling instantly at home as I hummed the chorus, my arrival announced by Spider-Man's relentless enthusiasm. 7 people, 3 women and 4 men, all dressed in jumbo lengas and saris, wearing New York Yankees puffer jackets, stand around the open trunk of a car, smoking, listening to music and laughing. There are deep silver trays of food, potatoes and onions and okra and gajar pickle and white rice and yellow kadhi and my favourite, mounds of khichdi, all stacked next to the trunk. They all stop talking as I arrive and look at me. In unison, they all nod. And I walk on, waving an embarrassed hi to the sky as they resume their conversation. It's only when I've passed I turn around and nod back. None of them is paying attention. That communal nod of theirs, it stays with me all the way home. For a second, I don't feel homesick. Chapter 2. I'm thinking about those people the next morning when Rohan stops by the coffee shop to grab my keys and collect Spider-Man. He nods at me as he enters and I smile and offer a small wave. The shop is empty. I'm leaning on the counter reading articles on my phone. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean, the old barista mantra goes. Not me. You have a good time with the pup, he asks. Nah, I say. He definitely shed hair on everything I own. He smells like butt. All my throw pillows look like mohair monstrosities now. At least you're no longer referring to Spider-Man as it anymore. That tells me you bonded at last. Perhaps, I say. How was your trip? Oh, you know, Rohan says. Shadis are always 4 days too long, 20 masses too social, and 1 racist kaka. I brought you a box of samosas, though. Shall I leave them in your apartment? Leave me one, I say. I need my fix. God, I can't wait to go to a wedding this year. I need my massy fix. All right, bet, Rohan says. handing me a baggie with a deliciously brown samosa in it. An online commentator wrote under my last essay about the unbearable whiteness of publishing that I should shut the F up because no one cares what a chubby samosa thinks. I thought, my guy, the last thing you want is a thin goddamn samosa. Rohan leaves as another brown guy enters, wearing a snapback that says haram on it. They nod at each other. As the haram guy approaches the counter, I smile and he nods at me. You know Rohan? I ask. Who? He says. What can I get you? I ask. Maybe I mistook that nod. Chapter 3. Where are you from? The Uber driver asks me. I don't mind answering. Her name is Priyanka. She laughs after everything she says, and in silences, flatly says, do be do. No tune associated with it. Just do be do. Normally, I would find it so irritating, but tonight it sounds utterly charming. I'm Gujarati, but I grew up in New Jersey, I tell her. Baroda, Rajkot. I have a favour in Rajkot. You know the mysteries? No, I say. Should I? She laughs. It's what you say when you're in strange cities. You try to find the links. It helps you feel connected. Does it? I say. It makes everyone feel so far away. At first, she says, but then, before you know it, you're nodding at every person with brown skin you walk past, and you start to feel like you're near the people who look like you. It helps you put down roots. I miss my mom, I say. Me too, she says. Where is yours? Bergen country? You? She taps at her neck, her tavis. I'm sorry, when did she pass? 5 years ago. I was not even there. My sister sent this to me in the mail. My mother, through the mail. All the way from Gujarat, I say. No, she says, looking in her rearview mirror. Houston. She laughs, I smile back. We fall into silence. Do be do, she tells me flatly. We're nearing home, it's late. The amber swell of the streetlights as we approach my street are a comforting welcome home. At some point tonight, I was sober enough to say yes to one more drink. I got even more excited when that one more drink was at my favourite bar in my old neighbourhood. As we pass the building a few blocks from my house, Priyanka points at it. So glad I took this job, she says, banging on the steering wheel. I can go and get some apna food. Where? I ask. It's 4:20 a.m. Where are you going to get dal, bhat, shak, rotli? Priyanka slows the car and looks at me, leaning with my cheek against the cool window. You live here and you don't know about Didi's? I shake my head. Didi's Gujarati food. I shake my head again. I close my eyes and smile. I want to lie down. I want to drink something fizzy. I want to not be in this car. Come on, she says. Let's get some dal bak shak rotli at 4:23 a.m. Priyanka pulls the car over and parks it before I can agree. I've not heard of Didi's. My mum's rotlis were the best. We all say that of our mum's way of making them. Each mum has their special way. Every chapati is different. Every family serves their chapatis differently. I know that now. I know that Sheila, Mummy, likes them small and thick, that Nisha Kaki likes them with lots of ghee. I know that Bar makes flying sauces with the middle all puffy. Mum makes them flat, like our family is used to. Every family learns to make them their favourite way. The difference is subtle. It can be down to the diameter, thickness, amount of heat. My mum's chapatis were thin and very round, covering the circumference of her circular rolling board. She would cook them on a naked flame, using her asbestos cinders to turn them as needed. They were sometimes burnt and always as they should be. I haven't been home in months. I want rotli. Sure thing, Priyanka, I say. I open the car door and wrench myself from the back seat. I've been in this car so long, I feel less drunk and more heavy. Didi's, I say to her, as she leads me to the door. Apna, she says, smiling. Ours. Chapter 4. Mina sends me out from the hotel to get these infamous kebabs. I'm walking down some random street behind the Taj. Every red flag word of warning Mum gave me about this country is banging through my brain. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like I'm at home. The two men, hunching over 4 oil drums, each one blazing, illuminating their faces golden in the night sky, work dough from the naans, keeping the kebabs turning. Have the right change for you before you've even paid. I ordered 2 lamb and 2 chicken. Mum said don't eat street food. Your poor American stomach won't like it. I ask where I can buy some beers. Excuse me. Oh no. Just got something on the page. Oh dear. I ask where I can buy some beers. It's almost a novelty, being able to drink at 19. One of the kebab wallahs points down the street. It's dark and eerie and exactly the type of street Mum told me to never walk down alone. The buoyancy in my feet comes from stepping out of my American shoes into something more ethereal. I get this place. I don't need Mum to patronise me. Come on. White people come to India to find themselves all the time. A Desi girl can't walk down a dark Bombay street and masquerade for a local at all. I've been instructed to knock on a window. I look around for the window in the side of the warehouse that occupies the majority of the dead-end street I've been sent down. I feel like I'm on the set of Don't Look Now. To be honest, there's only one thing on the side of the building that could be a window. I tap on it confidently. I need a beer, goddammit. My kebabs are going soft. So quick, please. The window's open decisively. A man sits at a desk in the window. He nods at me. 2 kingfisher, I ask, peering inside, watching men crate up bottles of beer and eat kebabs from the same place I just stopped at. White label or black label? White, I say, not entirely convinced I'm enough of a connoisseur of any alcohol to know the difference. Back at the hotel, Mina is nearly ready for our trip to Inferno. I tell her about the warehouse of beer. Look at you, badass, with all your local knowledge, she says, laughing. I've always wanted to call this place home, I think. It feels right. Chapter 5. Didi's is quiet and small and exactly like the inside of that warehouse behind the Taj in Bombay. Plastic white Formica chairs, plastic white Formica tables, plastic spoons, plastic thalis. A television in the corner pumps out a Bollywood playlist off of YouTube. I bare my teeth at Priyanka and nod my head in the same time to the beat. She smiles at me. The smell of food is fantastic. My cousin over in England sent me a link to an article recently about some landlord who refuses to rent to Desis because our food smells too much. Lord, I wrote back to him. Curry smells so much better than egg mayo. My God. Curry smells better than boiling ham, he wrote back. I laughed for hours about that. Smelling this food, I'm immediately taken home. Pop's watching that television as the girl dances the item number. Mom sitting, 1 foot up on the chair, her elbow draped over it, smearing gajar pickle into her thepla and eating it in 2 bites. The smell lingering for hours. Me gulping down a salt lime soda as a treat. Further back, to school, Mom making me get changed out of my school things into my home clothes. A plain curty, trackies, so that my clothes didn't smell of the food. Us keeping our coats and other outdoor clothes out of the kitchen. The worst thing, she was intimating, would be being told that our clothes stink of curry. The first dish I learned to make myself was pasta with tomato sauce. The care package she sent me at college, thuplas and parathas wrapped in tinfoil, the empty jelly jars now filled with gajar pickle, karini chutney. I'd eat them on benches in the quad by myself, knowing that Lindsay, my roommate, would complain if I ate them in our room because she complained about everything. It made me feel so far away, like when they served some sort of miscellaneous generic chicken curry in the cafeteria, and she put her scarf over her nose, balking about the smell and looking at me. Anyway, all of this is undone in those first few moments at Didi's. There are a couple of people eating, dressed in black suits with black shirts. They eat separately, but both look up at Priyanka and smile at her. She waves back at them. They drive cabs too, she says. What's the worst thing about driving cabs, I ask. People spoiling movies for you, she says, smiling. Or television, or basketball. On your seats, with vomit. With oily food. People thinking they know better than sat-nav. Traffic. Having to buy things so you can use the bathroom. There's a lot of things. Wow, I say. Is there anything good? I get to listen to a lot of podcasts. I laugh as Priyanka leads me towards the counter. Didi is checking her phone, leaning against a wall. I recognise her as one of those people who gave me the nod the other night. I realise now, this is the building I walked past with Spider-Man. I look around. The rest of the nodders are all here, serving food. She has a permanently open mouth, seemingly mostly smiling, and thick glasses. Her hair is pulled tight into a bun. She wears one of those black t-shirts that lists a bunch of names. Hers says Didi and Masi and Faiba and Ba and Mota and Ba and Ben Aji. I love it. I take a sneaky picture of it for the gram. Didi looks up at me as I hit snap. Kem chol, Didi? Priyanka asks. All right, Ji, Didi replies, without looking up from her phone. Who is your friend? A customer, Priyanka says. She is missing home. Gujarati? Didi asks me, looking up. I nod. You want some khichdi? I haven't eaten khichdi since Dada's cremation. I sat in the kitchen with Mum and washed great bowls of brown lentils by hand as everyone sat next door singing Prathna. Prathna. Pops kept popping his head in the door and asking if we needed help. He looked so lost. Dada had been such an integral part of our lives. When he had his mind, he dictated our social engagements. When he didn't, we did everything for him. It was all-encompassing. The amount of times I had to help Pops leave him out of the bath and Dada got all weird because his private parts were out, like there was anything vaguely sexual or humiliating about the nudity, and not the fact that this man no longer possessed a mind that could control his own damn body. It was depressing. At Dada's cremation, relatives turned up with food. Samosas, bati tanu shak, paneer, rotlis. But it was Mum's khichdi that kept us all going. When I asked her how to make it, she said it was her favourite food too and she would teach me one day. Either peasant food or Greek food, she said. I laughed, wolfing down my second bowl of the stuff. Yes, please, I said to Didi, as she spoons a mound of khichdi into a white plastic bowl, handing me a white plastic fork. Priyanka asks for some bakri and gajar new pickle. Didi unwraps some foil and lifts a hard disc onto a plate. Together? Didi asks, and Priyanka looks at me. I'm about to say, sure, why not, when Priyanka laughs. Separate, she says. This is not part of her fare. I'm about to bite into my khichdi as I walk towards a table, choosing to sit on my own while Priyanka heads over to catch up with one of the other drivers. The other one disconnects his phone from a phone charger and stands up, ready to leave. He looks familiar. Like I've used his cab on Lyft or something. He has a thin pencil-like beard and moustache. His hair sticks up like he's in Street Fighter 2. He catches me staring at him, rubs at his chest, 2 fingers slip between the buttons under his shirt, and he nods at me as he leaves. My cheeks burn. I'm embarrassed. I nod back at the shadow of his departure. He is long gone, and a part of me feels bereft. I bite at a huge mound of khichdi, and too much clover side. It tastes just like how my mum used to make. I feel like I'm at home. Chapter 6. I leave leftover khichdi at work the next day. Oh, not leave. I eat leftover khichdi at work the next day. I'm sitting in front of the coffee shop. Maggie told me to eat my smelly food outside. I joked that it did overpower the smell of avocado on effing sourdough toast somewhat. She smirked as if to say, I functionally understand this to be a joke but refuse to understand it or honour it with a laugh. F her, fresh air. I'm leaning against a bench when a guy approaches, wearing a bomber jacket made of shawari material and effing bata chapals. I smirk at him, except this smirk says, I'm digging the fashion, my friend, and I get it. I get its heritage. But this is not necessarily an invitation to stop and chat, so keep walking. He nods at me. What's up, Ma? He asks in a hoarse voice, like he's been on too many villain auditions in one day. You good? He talks with such clear familiarity and friendliness that, for a second, I worry that we know each other, even though I can count the number of brown people I know in this city on a thumb. Just one. Rohan. Do I know you? I ask. Aren't we all related? He says, laughing. Sorry, we're in an awkward exchange now. I loved your Chapal and Shwari look. And you said hey and for a second I thought I knew you, but I don't, do I? Nah, but it's good. Always good to see another Desi out here. It's like a mayonnaise factory. I laugh and he laughs too. What are you eating? Kachidi, I say, unsure why I'm embarrassed suddenly, claiming food authenticity with another brown person, like he might correct me on my pronunciation, or say, actually, that is Gujarati brown lentil kachidi. It's important to be specific, lest I think it's a Nepalese red lentil kachidi, mixed with lamb mince and parsley. You sure? He says. Yeah, it's delicious. From Didi's? I say, like a goddamn pro. I could have lived here my entire life. Oh, word, he says. I love that place. Gotta get me some... ooh and whoa. Okay, that's spelled OONDHWO. Anyways, stay blessed. He starts to walk away, stops, then turns to me. Jai Shri Krishna, he says, and leaves. Chapter 7. I cannot believe Didi's is still there, Mum says. I'm surprised she's heard of it. It has become an obsession of mine. I've been there 3 out of 5 nights. Tried pretty much the entire menu, each dish tasting like home. I've eaten alone with a book, I FaceTimed a buddy in London, and I brought Rohan, who tagged us on Instagram, which is how Mum knew about it. Since she joined Instagram to share Sanskrit memes and follow Priyanka and Deepika and the Hungama of all the other Bollywood stars, she's obsessed with the app. Of course, she comments under every one of my grams. Of course, she follows Rohan. Of course, it means he tags me in everything every time we see each other. It's his way of ensuring we keep in touch. His mum died 4 years ago. Since then, he's been ending every episode of his podcast with, "Call your mum, she misses you." Every time I hear him say it, I well up. How do you know about Didi's? I say, shoving a pizza slice in my face so Mum can't tell how sad I feel, interacting with her through a screen. Darling, we did not always live here. You know you were born in Queens, a few blocks away from Didi's. Yeah, I know, but it was open then? Of course, Didi's is as old as Desi's in the city themselves. It was a place for all of us to go and be amongst our own people. I know my colleagues at the college here call this self-segregation, but they are Goras. Rakhi, darling. They did not understand that this was self-preservation. Going to Didi's every Thursday and listening to people read out their letters from home, or on Saturdays when we would move all the tables to one side and listen to mehfils, or the friends Papa made with other taxi drivers. We had a community in the city, and that was our central clubhouse. Wow, I say. Well, I love their kachidi. Khichdi. Kachidi. You used to come with us, Mum tells me. Really? I say. And for the first time in ages, I feel like I'm truly all ears to Mum. Like whenever we talk, I tell her the bits about my week that are palatable to her. The micro-progressions of my career, the microaggressions of hipsters, what I've eaten, have I been on any dates. We don't really share stories that count. Everything is a list of meals, a list of names of people I've dated, a list of hipster racist incidents, a list of commissions. There is nothing that makes this conversation easy. But now, all I want to hear about is the good old days at Didi's. That place, we called it the other house, she tells me. I like that a lot, Mum. Your Papa has some good stories. Want me to get him on the phone? I I try to say it as tempered and plainly as I can. I don't want to speak to him, I say. He misses you, Bedda, Mum says. It was just a vote. It doesn't matter. It does, I say. Anyway, tell me how to make chidi, I say, taking the laptop over to my kitchen counter. Have you soaked the dal? She asks. I love my mum in this moment. She is firm and clear with instructions, but you can tell from the smirk on her face that there is nothing she would rather be doing than telling her only child how to cook her favourite dish over the internet. She's even put on an apron, even though she's not cooking anything herself. I want to cry and tell her I miss her and use any excuse to go home. But she has the determined look on her face, like, I will teach this child how to cook like me. I choke back a tear and listen. Chapter 8. Didi's becomes my comfort food spot. I eat away bad dates, rejection emails from editors, my silent spat with my pops, Mom's well-intentioned sharing of news of more successful cousins. Spider-Man's death? Rohan's upset, my upset, loneliness, the empty apartment. The season finale of the show I would never admit I watched publicly. Trolls who seek out women of colour with political opinions on the internet so they can describe to us all the ways they would like to harm us. A guy I used to hang out with who's now on a pretty successful AMC show, ignoring me when I say hello to him at a random bar. Didi's becomes where I bask in good news. I only take Rohan if I take anyone. I won't let white people ruin this place for me. I eat to celebrate a new commission, a published work, a successful reading, a day at work when I don't want to spray boiling milk into a customer's eyeball. Friends' successes. A guy I used to hang out with getting cast in a pretty successful AMC show. A good conversation with Mom, a care package she sends containing theplas in tinfoil and a Hanuman Chalisa book. I get to know what it's like to know where everybody knows your name. Chapter 9. It's 4 a.m. and I'm back at the bar because I know Teddy's working. I'm trying to finish a terrible book I need to review, and the only way I can finish it is if I wash it down with 2 or 3 beers. I'm at the corner of the bar, leaning against the wall and against the bar, almost squatting over my stool just to stay awake because this book is terrible. I can feel the man next to me try to get my attention. He flicks a beer mat repeatedly against a knuckle to distract my peripheral vision. He sighs a lot, so I'll ask what's wrong. When my mac and cheese arrives, he asks the bartender what I ordered to establish a connection, even though it's clearly mac and cheese. He makes a phone call to a buddy and says he's doing nothing, just propping up a bar next to the most beautiful tanned lady in Queens. At which point I put my book down and turn to him. His phone call mysteriously wraps up, and he turns to face his entire body at me. Brad, he says, extending his hand. Did you just call me tanned? I ask, curtly. Yeah, best tan in Queens, especially for this time of year. It's my skin colour, buddy. I shake my head in disbelief. I hate this. When it's this casual, this normal, it causes my stomach to burn. For me to be that weird kid who never fit in once more. So, he says, not getting it. This is not a tan, I tell him, slowly seeing Teddy hover near us just in case this escalates as he can use his bartender privileges to chuck someone out. I'm always this colour. Well, lucky you, he says. Imagine being tanned all year round. F you, I say. What the F did I do, he says, picking up his phone from the wet bath and dropping it in beer spill again. It's not like I'm racist or anything. No, I say, gathering my things, flowing my nostrils, but you said something racist. I'm not a racist, he says. I'm out the door. At Didi's, there's a line. It's Ramadan, and I've come just as people are having their last meal before the fast starts. Priyanka nods at me from 3 people in front. All the men lining up look tired, haggard. Summer month fasting must be the worst. The toughest, sorry. As I wait, I stare at a collage of pictures on the wall near the entrance. I've never noticed them before. Faded, curled up at the corners, almost overexposed, is a photo of 2 people I instantly recognise. Beaming, banging dantias together. So that's spelled Dandhiyas. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Facing the camera, him in an all-white juba lenka, her in one of her pink floral sari specials. It's my mum and pops doing garba. The inscription reads, Navratri 1989. I lean in close. There I am, almost 3, sleeping on 2 chairs pushed together, wearing a red salwar. I realise something. This other house, it's always been here for me. Home. I just hadn't found it yet. I look at the line of people in front of me, the most brown faces I've been surrounded by since Nadia's shadi. This is the other house. I snap a photo of the photo on my phone. I'm ready, I think. It's early, but I'm ready. I finally feel at home. I text Pops. So once again, that was Didi's by Nikesh Shukla from an anthology called A Short Affair. Really beautiful book and cover. That is by far my favourite story of the anthology. And a provocation for you now, having heard the story, would be to have a think, maybe have a cry if you feel like it, and to perhaps do some writing or illustration of your own, inspired by any details of the story, maybe your favourite anecdotes. I think mine personally was the part where the protagonist, who's narrating the story, she describes shoving a piece of pizza into her mouth to hold back tears when she's on the phone to her mom. That's, for me, the most memorable. So, a bit of writing, a bit of drawing perhaps, and maybe even if you want to write something specific, you could perhaps write about a time that you felt homesick, but if possible, link it in with food. Yeah. So I chose that because I think it's really poignant at this time when some people are still in lockdown. People have been segregated from their families for 3 to 6 months. Everyone's been eating a lot because there's really not much else to do. I've been doing a lot of eating, cooking and washing up. So thank you very much for tuning into 100 Stories Deep. Yeah, thanks very much. Enjoy.